7. Cognitive psychology, mind versus computer. In the previous segment, I discussed psychotherapy, starting with Gestalt approach that put the responsibility on the rational individual, and humanist psychotherapy focused on fulfillment, while existential psychotherapy emphasized meaning. In this segment, first I'll discuss cognitive psychology that emerged after the Second World War, in which the focus shifted from behavior to perception and memory, and how the mind works, especially in the light of the invention of computers. Cognitive psychology saw the limitations of behaviorism as well as psychoanalysis. Behaviorism focused on learning, but it failed to adequately explain perception and memory, but most crucially, it failed to explain intelligence. While psychoanalysis focused on the subconscious or unconscious, it too failed to fully explain why some people like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung were able to have such insight which others did not. How is it possible for minds such as Alan Turing to invent the computer that broke the German Enigma code? While behaviorism and psychoanalysis saw a uniformity in standard among individuals and that they all behave in the same way under certain conditions, we all have the same unconscious mind, but they fail to understand the differences in our cognitive abilities. One of the biggest problems with both behaviorism and psychoanalysis was that they made the individual somewhat powerless in the face of their environmental conditioning or the unconscious beast. So cognitive psychology emerged to tell us that the human mind is one of the most sophisticated and powerful machines out there. Instead of hindering us, our mind is immensely empowering. To fully understand cognitive psychology, let's discuss its sociocultural context. One of the characteristics of the modern condition is the prevalence of machines dominating society and determining our lives. This is beautifully depicted in the novels of Franz Kafka, such as The Trial and The Metamorphosis, in which the individual feels paralyzed under the weight of modern bureaucracy. While novelists such as Kafka and Aldous Huxley warned about machines sucking out our humanity, psychologists, instead of pushing back against technology, try to use science to align humans with machines. So a new school of psychology was born. Cognitive psychology tries to look at the human brain in the light of advancement in the machine, and especially computers, to understand how to empower individuals rather than complain. Cognitive psychology has its origin in Gestalt psychology. As I discussed before, Gestalt psychology focused on perception and how the mind organizes perception, but most crucially, rationality is the best tool we have. As a result, cognitive psychology expanded on our perception, how it becomes memory, and how memory in turn influences perception. Therefore, we are able to utilize it to improve our lives. In short, cognitive psychology wanted to understand the connection among attention, memory, and intelligence. Before I go any further, let me define a few important terms used in cognitive psychology. The main focus of cognitive psychology is the perception and memory. When we deal with the outside world or even our own internal experiences like feelings and imaginations, we have tools to perceive information like our sensory system. Philosophers, especially those who came after Kant, argued that we cannot fully know reality, but we only have partial perception of reality. So what is perception? Simply put, perception is sensory signals we receive through our bodily senses such as sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. Perception also includes how the mind interprets those signals. Our senses perceive information from the outside as well as from inside, but we are not fully aware of most of the sensory data we receive. What we are aware of is called attention, which is a more focused perception. So perception includes all sensory signals, while attention is what we are aware of. Also interesting to note that cognitive psychology is primarily interested in attention and memory, so that individuals can utilize them for more creativity and productivity. How about memory? As we receive sensory data, we are only attentive to some of it, and most of it ends up in our memory. But there are two kinds of memories, short-term memory and long-term memory. Short-term memory, which is also known as working memory, is accessible to us immediately. while long-term memory tends to be buried in our deeper consciousness, like the unconscious, but also influences our behavior in ways we are not aware of. So short-term memory is somewhat similar to random access memory or RAM in a computer that deals with the ongoing tasks. Long-term memory, on the other hand, is somewhat similar to hard disk storage in that everything that is not needed right now goes in there for future access. While we can choose what to put in our computer hard drive, we have no conscious choice when it comes to our own long-term memory. We cannot delete it. Therefore, good or bad memories stay with us. As I discussed earlier, Freud and Jung argued that those memories stay in our unconscious that from time to time come back to haunt us when triggered. Or on a positive side, they become involuntary memories that transport us into our past as it was depicted in Marcel Proust's novel In Search of Lost Time. Now that we established working definitions for perception, memory, and attention, let's talk about some of the leading cognitive psychologists. First, I'll look at psychological studies of perception, then move on to discuss memory, and finally, I'll deal with cognitive therapy as a solution to our cognitive issues in the modern world, which is how to take control of the mind to enhance our lives.